We used to do pickle juice. There we go.
All right. Welcome to the Pop Podcast. I know that we have a little bit of a different setup today. Ashley, am going to be interviewing our brand new guest, Daniel Frank.
Hello.
All right. So let's start with our drinks, right? Before we get into stuff.
Nice cover. Someone took care to cover that up.
To not kick it across the room.
These are massive. This
I
is
know.
awesome. So what is it?
It is a sparkling orange, just water. But it was imported from Iceland.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you
seems
pronounce
dope.
the name?
Skyra.
I'll take your word for it. You don't think the little, what is that called? A tilde? That's not a tilde. Whatever that little.
Asterisk? No,
No.
that one's at the end.
We're being super horrible with this.
Yeah, we
the
are.
English
Okay.
language doesn't give us any room to understand that.
It doesn't help
at
us
all.
out.
Well, cheers. This looks great. Sparkling waters. It's good.
I hope so. I've only ever had like one or two, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
Fair enough.
Yep. All right, you know the rules with this. You're not allowed to tell us how you feel about it
'Kay.
until the very end to keep us on the
'Kay.
edge of our seat.
Yeah. Yeah. Filtered through volcanic rock. Okay. It's a bold claim. I want to see that process. That's what I want to see. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
How do we start? What do we do?
We start with, all right, we're seeing how well I pay attention over the last, handful of episodes. I'm supposed to say, I hope that this is a portion of peace, that this brings you some peace throughout your week. And I want to encourage you guys, interact, ask questions. If you guys have any ideas that would be really fun or something that you would like to see, send us a text, comment, like, all the things. Cool. All right, Daniel.
Yes. So we had our live event not that long ago, and there was a question that we didn't get to that someone submitted for this person on their behalf to make sure that we would answer it. So I asked for the floor on the front end here, and then Ashley will take us away. But here's one of the questions. Do miracles only apply to believers? And there's kind of a couple things here. I would say in some of the circles that I run in, that some of the feeling can be that miracles don't even apply to believers. That that we worship a different God than the stories that we read in the Bible. And I am more convicted than ever that God wants to move in miraculous ways through his people and through his church. And so we worship the same God that is in Acts. We worship the same God that is the God of the Old Testament. We worship that God. And so the miracles that we see there are the miracles that God would like to do today. And so we just need to move in step with him and look for the gifts that he would like to pour out. And he says that he's going to pour that out on his church. So first I want to establish that yes, miracles are for believers, but it's also for the world. When we saw Jesus do miracles, it was primarily to reveal himself to the world, to verify the message. So then the apostles began to do miracles as well to verify the message that they were saying. So miracles, I would say, are more often than not actually used on unbelievers, on people that don't believe in Jesus, in public settings to verify the message that the apostles or the church is trying to communicate about Jesus. I could get super nerdy on this, but I think that the thing that I want to lean in on is that, one, if we're looking for miracles and as a church we're not involved in our communities, then we're missing the point. And two, if it's to verify the message of Jesus, are we preaching the message of Jesus? Because if we're preaching anything else, God is not going to provide miracles to verify whatever message we're spewing if it's not about Jesus. So, yes, miracles are for everyone, and God wants to dole them out to bring people to his son, Jesus Christ. So that's kind of the role of miracles, and and a lot of that. And I'm still learning a lot. I didn't grow up in a context that looked for that or sought out some of this more spiritual side of things, of even like prophecy or things like that. So I'm in a process of learning what a lot of that looks like. But I know I read a lot of stories in the Bible that move me towards Jesus, and I think he wants to do that today too. The second question that was submitted was, will those who don't believe still make it to heaven if they are in in quotation marks good, even when they don't believe? So this is a huge core question of the Christian faith. This is hard to answer it's not hard to answer, but I want to acknowledge that a lot of times these questions come from a much deeper place, and I always prefer a coffee shop setting to have like a genuine conversation. But the quick and short of it, the truth is that none of us are good. So the things that we may do as good on the outside do not often, if they come from us, reflect a heart that is good. And so the Bible says that no one is good, that everyone has sinned, that everyone has fallen short of the glory of God. So we were just this last Sunday talking about James 1, where he says in that our sinful actions give birth to death. So it's not just that you messed up, it's not just that you took the cookie from the cookie jar, but it's that our sin actually kills the people around us. And the most obvious thing of that is murder, that it literally kills the people around us. But there is death to relationship. There is death to how people can function in the world in a healthy way because of our sin to the people around us and how we're interacting in this world. And even if it's just for us, it's death to how we interact with the people around us and they miss out on what could have been a life-giving relationship. So because sin gives birth to death, that's exactly what we deserve. And so Jesus came to die for our sins. He came to take the death that we deserve, that we could have life with him. So no one is good. Those who don't believe in Jesus, it is not that God is going, how could you, how dare you? It's that God is identifying and acknowledging that you have free will, that you have a choice, and he's giving you what you choose. If you're choosing not to believe in Jesus, if you're choosing not to come to him, then you are choosing to be away from him. And the problem is that he's created everything. So there's a place called hell that is a spiraling in your own sinful choices that breed death. And so that's a huge answer to say, no, those who don't believe in Jesus, even if they did some good actions, or they did a lot of good actions here on earth, the Bible says that none of us are good and that we're all in need of Jesus. So, semi-long answer to the couple questions there. That's just a follow-up from our Q&A. If you didn't see that, catch up on that. We did that here in early July. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Okay, where are we going now?
You killed it. We'll start with my first favorite question.
Okay.
And then we'll jump into my second one.
Uh-huh. So we're just going questions.
We're going.
We're just rolling.
I should explain.
I'm going to pull you into these, though. We're going to go back and forth a little bit.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. When I got told that I get to do the interviewing, I was like, oh, let's try and be professional about it. Let's try and figure out, let's go into it the right way. And I don't know how to do that. So I'm asking questions as a 23-year-old who's doing life for the first time ever and has questions for someone who's a little bit older and is in a position of respect. I respect where you are, and you're a little bit farther, maybe a lot of bit farther along in life. I'm kidding. Are you finally 27?
No.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's only 3 years, Ashley.
It doesn't seem like that. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so my first favorite question. Where have you experienced God's peace recently?
So actually, this Sunday, we did service and we went into worship, and I was worshiping. We do 3 songs at the back end of our service, and I was worshiping, and it just felt like God asked me to just take a seat, talk to him. And so I just sat down and was talking to him, and I just felt peace. I had the word rest but it feels like a subcategory of peace, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like God gave me this rest. I mean, my shoulders literally went down, and it was like, man, and all these words just flooded in of like, I get so wound up tight of like resting well with my family and finding these pockets of rest, and that I'm really, really in a busy season right now and I need to be resting. And then that attitude, like I find myself winding up to try and rest. And it was almost a moment of God going like, hey, I give you rest. So why are you planning to go to Lake Tahoe? Why are you planning to go here? Not that I shouldn't go to those places,
Yeah.
but why are you looking to that to give you rest when I'm where the rest is? And then there was like okay, that's for you and it's for them. So go tell them. So felt that in the first service. And so yeah, that would be my answer for recently. What about for you?
I think, especially, so I just got back from Forward Bible Camp for a week. I was cabin leading the 7th to 9th grade girls week. And while I was out there, we had the cabin leaders. As a cabin leader, you get some allotted time to be away from the kids to try and mentally recuperate from, all of the drainingness that is those kids. Love them, but they are. And
That's why they're there. Their parents are like, camp, yep, go.
Please. Yeah, while I was there, and during my free time, I did two things every time I got free time. I would write a letter to my husband because that was awful. Being away for a week, that's the longest that we've been away since we got married. That was awful. I didn't get to talk to him, didn't get to text him, didn't get to hear from him, nothing. That was awful. So writing to him helped to feel like I was talking to him. But the other thing that I would do is I would go and I would find a quiet spot alone. And it's one of the first times that I've actually listened to go off and be still and find a quiet place and just sit and rest with God. And it started with a lot of this is what's going on, and I miss Fox, and kind of the ramblings of going through my day with God. And then I finally got through it all, and I was just kind of sitting there, and there was this vision of, we had sung a song, I think, about God saying well done, good and faithful servant, well done. And I remember thinking about that in my head, and I don't know why, but instead of saying well done to me, he called me my love, just calling me my love, and just hey, come here, or yes, love, something like that, just so sweet and gentle. And I just broke down into tears because that's who I was. I do want to be a good servant, and I want to be a good daughter, and I want to do my job because I have been given a job here. But at the end of the day, what I crave most is just, I just want to be loved.
Yeah.
And so that was just so special. And that's a name that I have called my husband, and my husband calls me, which I think also just reflects that kind of love, which is what marriage is supposed to do. It's supposed to reflect the love of God.
Yeah.
And so I think it was just this really special moment. And then each day after that I went back, it just was sitting on this God calling me my love. And it was just so special.
Yeah. That's cool. So, okay, middle school girls camp. Oh my gosh. Okay, so middle school girls camp was my favorite camp when I was at Summers all summer, and I got to see every camp. Middle school girls was always my favorite. Because I was in programs, so I led the games.
Oh yeah.
And the amount of sass and ability to go back and forth and joke in that public setting, and just the environment was just, I looked forward to it so much. Back then I had longer hair, so they would braid my hair, and it was this whole thing, and yeah, it was just so much fun. The one thing that I disdained more than anything at middle school girls camp was any competitive event. And here's the picture, okay? We're playing Hawaiian softball, which is just it's just baseball, but with a volleyball and a metal bat so that you don't need gloves or anything. It's great. Or no, yeah, let's just say we're doing that. And one of the girls that is on base, she's on third base, and runner is on third base, and she's coaching the runner. So, like, the ball is hit, but it's way up, and the person that is on third base that wants that runner out, or so that she should, is going like, no, don't run. They're probably going to catch it. Like, don't do this, right? And she's, like, coaching them up. And I'm like, stop. You are ruining the sanctity of competition. And middle school girls just didn't. But knowing you and having conversations with you, that was your favorite part, I'm sure.
Oh, I wish that happened. No, I was struggling so hard, especially during the games, just because the girls, like, I don't even know. Yes, they were helping each other, but also there was to the point where, like, we got into the game and then the girls kind of stopped helping each other. They're like, oh, we should not do this because we're winning.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where I was like, this is not fun. This is what's the point of playing a game if we're not playing? I don't want to. But that's also a shift. That is huge for me. That's not normal. Yeah, but I can see how that would kill you.
Yeah. Okay.
Second favorite question.
Okay.
Where haven't you felt God's peace recently?
I think there's a few different places. The one that I think that I can highlight is, so I'm in a super busy season now, as I mentioned before, and I think that the chaos comes, or where a lot of times I don't feel God's peace, is just how different people respond to this season, or how different people interact with each other. I'm managing a lot of teams, and God has blessed me so much with my core team for Mission Placerville and my core team for youth that we function well together and we move well together. Because if that wasn't like life-giving and like stable and solid, there would be so much more. But a lot of these just different spaces that I'm in, people are just people, and even I'm not acting the best or doing the best. And so I think a lot of times in that's where I go, like, God, what are we doing here? So when people don't see eye to eye, that messes with me, especially since I'm in a leadership position over the whole thing. I so want to help people. And so I want to help people be okay. And sometimes people don't want to be okay. And that feels like chaos to me. So.
Well, it should, because I feel like that is. No, I like this question a lot. I like these two questions specifically because, one, it's always just fun to, like, hear where somebody else, and encouraging to hear where somebody else is being filled and overflowed from God. But also, I think one of the things that I struggle with the most in, not in my faith, but in, like, friendships and in community, is it always feels so not disingenuine. It just feels so, how's the weather? How's life? Yeah. And it's like, you don't actually care. This is just politeness. And so, like, asking you a hard question, like, where are you not experiencing God's peace, especially as someone, like, you're a leader in the church. Like, that's real. And, like, that feels genuine, and that establishes connection. And vulnerability. Like, So, thank you. For being vulnerable with us today. And for myself, I think I'm in the boat that as soon as you hit, like, I think it's even 17. I don't even think it's 18. It's 17, and I don't even know when the cutoff is because I'm still in it. But trying to figure out where I'm supposed to go and what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. So there is no cutoff.
You're not supposed to say that.
'Kay.
You're supposed to say
Sorry. move
23 and a half
on.
is exactly when the
Next
cutoff
year.
stops.
It'll be over soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think especially at camp, like when you actually connect with the girls, they're all in the same thing and that's 7th to 9th grade. So it's even sooner than 17.
Yep.
They're all just like, what do we do? Where do we go? And I feel like such an imposter being a leader there because they're like, Ashley, like, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. I can encourage you that you don't like stop living life, and life doesn't stop being good just because you have no idea where you're going.
Yeah.
But it is stressful and hard to handle. And it's one of those things that I have to constantly actively work on giving this to God and being like, all right, God, whenever you want to tell me where I'm going and what I'm supposed to do, awesome.
Yeah.
But until then, I guess we're just
trying
new things, hanging out. Like, I don't know. It's
And as someone who has received like a distinct calling from God of like, Daniel, do this, wasn't quite like that. But there's still that feeling doesn't go away, even if that does come. Because we're all seeking purpose in whatever season we're in. So that's where I say it doesn't have an end date. But you sparked a lot in me of like kind of this authentic. I think sometimes we get the feeling as Christians, but then especially if you're in any sort of leadership, if you're a cabin leader or anything, we get this sort of thing that we need to be the answer machine for everyone, that we've got to have it all figured out, right? That we've got to know. And so you go like, oh, I feel a little guilty or a little weird about not having the answers here. I think the best part is that we don't. And that we point to who does. I was reading a book called Authentic Ministry by Michael Reeves. And he shared kind of a thought that stood out to me that I think stands here. But he was specifically talking to church leaders, where he was saying, if you're trying to draw the church to yourself, that's a big problem, right? And the church is Jesus' believers, right? People that believe in him. So if you're a leader over people that are trying to look to Jesus or follow him, and you're trying to draw them to yourself, as sometimes we just automatically do, or we're seeking for our ego to be lifted up. We want people to go, man, you have all the answers. Like, this is great. If we're seeking to do that, then there's a deeper issue here, because the church is referred to as the bride of Christ. So let's just get real for a moment. You're wooing and flirting with Jesus' bride. And now we're like a little uncomfortable, right? Now it's like, oh, that's gross. Yeah, it is. Like, that's a really big deal. And I think I'd never really thought about it like that. And the book kind of sparked that. So I think that need that we have of like, man, I've got to answer this, can sometimes, not always, but sometimes can lead us towards trying to be the thing that people acknowledge and the thing that people lift up. And when really the best thing may be, man, I'm struggling with the same thing. Since I've lived 10 years more than you, all I know is Jesus, he knows me better than I know myself. And I know he's got the answers somewhere, but I don't feel like he's given them to me yet, but I keep looking at him. Now that person is thinking about Jesus and not thinking about you and how good you were at answering their questions. So not that we should never answer people's questions, right? And we're doing the question thing now. We did a Q&A thing last week. That we want to explore questions, but I think that sometimes our guilt can really just be pride beneath the surface, trying to woo Christ's bride to ourselves. And I took it to a much bigger leadership concept than what you were talking about, but it just made me think about that. I think we do that a lot.
I had a question written down to ask you. It was kind of like what you're talking about, or at least it leads into it. But it's, how has being a leader of the body changed you changed your life, changed how you live? Or has it?
Yeah.
Has it not? Because I know in my experience, I'm at youth group and even like things like Forward Bible Camp and Mission Placerville, stuff like that. I am in a leadership role where these girls are looking up to me. And I think it's more frightening than trying to lead a room of grown adults, because you are now shaping such an impressionable young mind.
Yeah.
And if you mess up here, which I'm going to, like, that's,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna. God's got it.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, that has lasting repercussions. And so I think it's, like, it's daunting and it's really scary and heavy. And then when I do make mistakes, which happens because I'm human, shocker,
Yeah.
like, it's so weighty and it's really heavy. And so I feel like that has, I think it's shifted how I live life, just in that, like, trying to figure out how to, I don't even get it. Like, I know that there's shiftings, but I can't figure out where. And so
Totally.
you being even, like, further, like, you're leading me, you're leading leaders. So how is that shifted?
Yeah. So in some ways, I probably don't know how much it's changed, but of course there's a change. Like, anytime, exactly what you're describing. Anytime you step into a leadership position, you are now in charge of and looking at a bigger picture. Whether you're on a volunteer basis of running a small group, now instead of just showing up and like hanging out with that one kid that you liked, like now you're thinking of your small group and how they're doing throughout the week. And like now someone else is telling you, like me, we're in a leader meeting of going like, hey, have you checked in? Have you done these things? Here's our vision. Like, no matter what, whenever you step into leadership of any capacity, your view changes of the group. And so I always warn the student leaders, like, hey, if you step into this, which I think you should, I think you're going to love it, you are going to see youth group different. When you show up to youth group, you're now going to see it through a different lens. It's no longer going to be, what can I get? And now it's going to be, what are they getting? Right? Which I think is a really healthy shift. Imagine if there was a church that everyone that walked through was thinking about everyone else and what they were getting through the time and how we could serve each other. We'd be equally served and pouring out at the same time. So that's definitely changed me a lot. I think specifically a public role of ministry has a different tune to it. So a preaching role or a role like this that people will text me or talk to me, want to hang out and ask questions and walk through life with me on a very regular basis. That I've always been fearful of my pride creeping up. And what Robbie's actually worked with me a lot on is that actually I naturally don't move into, oh wow, like I'm hot stuff. Like the problem for me hasn't been my head gets too big. It's that I actually slip into false humility where I will not hide, but I will actively go, yeah, I'm not good. Like, I'm not this, I'm not that. Like, I will actively diminish myself because for whatever reason, somewhere along the way, the narrative for me is that that's what humility is. And there was this conversation that I had with David where he said, instead of focusing on what you don't want to do, what if you focus on what you wanted to do, like what you wanted to be? And some of the hallmarks for me of humility is approachability. Like, if I've got a big head and I'm hot stuff, I'm not super approachable because people are afraid that they're burdening me or that they're going to be troubling me or that I'm some celebrity that's walking around that's unavailable, right? So I want to be approachable. And I want to be filled with grace for everyone's situation. I don't want to ever think of myself so higher than someone that I'm shocked at what they've done or what they're walking through. So I've had to work to focus on those things to pull myself out of a false humility of, yeah, I'm just no good. So some of that has really been helpful. I listened to a podcast and he talks specifically about after you preach, he's like, whenever you preach, whether it's a great sermon or a horrible one, no matter what someone says, make it a moment and not a monument. And so all that means is that in the moment, receive the praise. There's nothing worse than trying to give someone praise. Like in the Christian world, it's easy example of like, hey, you did a really good job preaching, actually. Oh, all glory to God, God. And it's like, yes, we know that. And you did a good job. Like I related to you and how you spoke. Like, great job. And so that false humility can creep in to go like, no, nothing me, not me. And again, it's not saying like you need to go that you're great, but you can make those moments a moment. So I work really hard that when someone goes, hey, good message, or hey, and it goes on the good and the bad. Hey, actually, that was the worst message I've ever heard. I can't believe you didn't. It took you 30 minutes to even pull up scripture. Like, what is going on? All these different things. Like, make it a moment, not a monument. So whether it's praise or whatever, you feel that in the moment, you receive it in the moment. And I've worked really hard to go, oh, wow, thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. And then I have to work harder on the back end to not pocket that away, either or. If someone's like, hey, I didn't like that very much, I got to not spiral off of that. And if someone's like, hey, that was one of the best sermons I've ever heard from you, I'm not going to spiral on that. So a great example of that this Sunday actually was that someone wrote on a welcome card to me how much they liked the message, and they came in and handed it to me. And it was just this really wonderful moment. And I read it and I'm like, gosh, this is so like heartwarming. It's like in the moment, so cool. And the thought creeps in of like, oh, I should keep this. It'll be good encouragement. And then that saying popped in, like a moment, not a monument. So I didn't keep it. I remember those words, right? Like those words are encouraging.
Yeah.
But if I were to keep it, I feel that would be creating a monument around that praise. And my body leans towards creating monuments around the horrible feedback or the times that I've messed it up, and then to like throw away the praise. That false humility shows up. So it's helpful for me, that saying of like, make it a moment, not a monument, has helped me to guard some pride on that front, on both ends of the spectrum. So Robbie can tear me apart as he does every Tuesday on how I preach, and I'm not spiraling the rest of the week.
You said monument. In my head, I thought idol, because that's what it is, which I think it's so right. But I think that really makes sense, because when we hold on to stuff like that, which I very much relate to, like I'll make Fox laugh, or like I'll make even a group of friends laugh, and like later on in the day, I'm like, I was so funny. And I'll like replay it in my head. I'm like, wow, I'm so funny. And then I'm like, what? And it's weird. But then I can feel that like, oh, you should be funny here because it makes people laugh. It's an idol. Yeah. Which is crazy.
Yeah. And even if it's not the idol, because I think idol carries a lot of like religious baggage to it, the monument is like, hey, something awesome happened, right? Or something horrible happened. And we want to place something here that will remember that forever. And so whether it's making someone laugh or it's a praise at your job, we need to not make monuments of those things. And just to receive that moment for what it is, and then move forward in how we know that God wants us to move.
Yeah.
That's helped me a lot. But like I said, I lean towards the more acceptable version of pride, which is the false humility. So there's been some key people that have spoken into that have helped.
I also lead a young adults group, kind of co-lead a young adults group. But there was one situation where, so I'm in a leader role. It's a little bit less in my head, which I don't necessarily think it should be, but it's a little bit less weighty because we are young adults. We aren't as
Yeah.
impressionable as youth. But there's a situation where we were playing this, like, it was a Jackbox game. And we started having fun with it, which means we stopped using our filters. And I just was like laughing and having fun. And I was like, dude, this was a great night. And then we got to the car, me and my husband, we got to the car, and Fox was like, I don't think that was good. I think that made someone uncomfortable. And I was like, oh, like I forgot I was a leader. And what I did was I stepped into this, like, everyone else is doing it and it's fun and we're adults and we're not, like, I don't know, doing anything. We're not, like, stealing or hurting anybody.
Yeah.
But I walked away from that thinking, like, if I am a leader, the leading doesn't get to turn off.
Yeah.
And so with you being a leader, that has got to be even heavier on your end of things. How do you...
Yeah.
What do you do? Like, how do you... Yeah, how do you handle that?
Yeah. So there's kind of like a couple things that come about. One is I have had to learn to understand my setting. One of the most meaningful things that happened to me in high school was that God showed me through a message and just through some different things within church here that I had a different Daniel. I had a Daniel at school, a Daniel at home, a Daniel that was at church, and a Daniel that was with my friends outside of school. Okay, so I had these 4 Daniels. And it was almost like God was going, which one do you like the best? And I was like, I like the one that's yelling at Quidditch at Mission Placerville and screaming at everyone and is just loud and free and funny. And like that's the Daniel that I like myself the best when I'm that Daniel. And it just happened to be at church. But I had the image of playing games at church more than I had the image of sitting and watching a message.
Yeah.
And so that was really impactful and started a journey of like colliding that. And so one of the things that I've had to learn in leadership is that I need to understand my setting, in that when I am with my close friends, there's a way that we interact. That doesn't mean that I'm a different Daniel, because the core things of what makes me different isn't the cadence or the words that I use to speak or the ways that I joke around, but it is the person that I am, like who I am. And so the loud, funny, and I'm going to pull you off to the side and go, hey, how are you? Like, that's who I am no matter what setting. So whether I'm on my computer with my friends and I'm using much different words than I would use in this podcast or in different things, I feel that I'm still that Daniel that's loud and funny and, hey, how are you doing? So as a leader, I've had to be better at identifying what spaces I can let loose on my joking and let loose on the words that I use, and what spaces that I am leading a group of Jesus that I want them to have, whether that's a youth game night that it's like, hey, I want us to be loud and have fun with each other in a healthy and structured way that helps you see that Jesus can be fun. Or it's, hey, we're in a small group and occasionally I may drop a racy word to prove the point and hit the point home because we're young adults and that's how we talk anyways. And we need to drive this point in, right? Not that I'm dropping F-bombs at young adult group, but that, like there's a bit of a more like, hey, I'm going to push the envelope here because this is what we're thinking anyways, so let's just say it. I've had to get better at identifying that. So from like your experience, what it sounds like is that you just didn't do a good job of identifying the exact setting that you were in. And so it's not even necessarily that you made a mistake, but I think that as a leader, that's just a muscle that is developed or flexed, so to speak. But it's hard because sometimes it can feel like, oh, I'm different people. So you have to almost write down, like I have it written down, like what are the things of who I am? And so then in these different spaces that it just looks different. When I'm sitting across from someone at a coffee table, I'm talking much different than how I am on the podcast. And in the podcast, I'm talking much different than when I preach a sermon. That doesn't mean that those are three different Daniels. It just means that it's a different setting. So I have it written down, who is Daniel? Like, I'm loud, I'm funny, and I deeply care about people. And so those things I'm going to carry with me. And then there's some specifics to that as well. So I think identifying that allows us to not feel like we're different people, but then also be able to identify the setting that we're in. Does that feel like it?
Yeah, no, that helps. I'm like in my house right now. I'm like, okay, where's my notebook?
Yeah.
I need to sit down.
Well, and even like I open it up to put it in the middle of like, you've been around me in a lot of different settings, and like my wife's been around me in a lot of different settings, and there's people that you're going to see in those different settings. Like, so I don't know. Have you seen that? Am I off base? Like,
I think my struggle is like, I think with the heaviness of leadership for me, especially with youth, my head, I've messed up once or twice. And those times that I've messed up have been so heavy that I've said, whatever is not acceptable or appropriate or allowed or whatever is not good at youth group is not good. So I struggle with the shifting back and forth, whereas I've tried to have this conversation with Fox, because in my head, the different settings feels like Fox is different with this group of friends, at work. Like it feels different to me.
yeah.
And I think that you would kind of fall somewhere in the middle of where, like, I think Fox is a little bit on the heavier end, where it's like, okay, we've got distinct personalities for these different groups. And I'm so rigid that there's like no sway. And so I think that you fall, at least in my understanding, you fall in the middle where, yeah, you're kind of, I still see you shift into different modes or different personalities in my head.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit more consistency
Yeah.
through those shifts. But yeah, I don't know. I think when you were explaining that there is a difference in setting, I think that does help a little bit, because it is appropriate to like make different jokes with a 3-year-old to make them giggle.
Yes. Yeah.
Than to have a conversation outside with your buddies that are your age.
Totally.
And it still be appropriate and all the things. So, I don't know. I think I still have I think God has still got some work to do in helping me to understand where I fall in this. But
And I mean, to me, the analogy that pops in mind is like water. Like when water is in a freezer, it's ice. Does that mean it's not water? No, but it's still water on a base level. But it functions different. It looks different. It feels different. But it's still the same thing. So what I identified in high school was like, hey, I'm whiskey here, I'm water there, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm motor oil over there. Like, what is going on? And so the different settings, and I mean, and as you're newlywed, how long have you guys been married now?
7 months.
Yeah, not even that long. 7 months feels like a long time.
I know. I was like, dude.
Yeah.
I feel like I just moved out of my dad's house.
Yeah. As you've seen there's a different way that you interact with Fox. Not to get too like whatever, but there's just a different way that you interact with Fox than you interact with Hannah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, is that different Ashley's? No. It's just that she's with someone else, someone different. And there's this line that you focus on, and that you're not alone in that. but just this line of like, okay, well, but we're not going to conform to the bad habits or bad practices of those around us. But then that's a much broader conversation of what those lines are. But I think that what can be useful for a young marriage, and what me and Hannah could probably even do better, is identifying what is going to be true about us and our family. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And so for like you and Fox sit down and me and Hannah sit down on our own, obviously, and to go, what is going to be true about us and our family? Of like, hey, when we're in different settings, these 3 words, we're never going to say them. That's going to be true about us. Hey, this line of joking or this way of acting, we're not going to do that. Other people might do that, and we may have used to do that. But now moving forward, what's going to be true about us is that we're not going to do that because we both agree that that's not how we want to show up in the world. So I think that there's some use for families, especially as kids come along and but even just a married couple, that can be a really helpful and useful thing. Yeah. And me and Hannah have had conversations like that. And on the things that we disagree, it's tabled and a continued conversation. Because there does have to be unity. Otherwise, you're dragging someone else into an agreement, right? Yeah. And there's just some easy things, right? Like some of the funny things, if you're going to go set this up with your family, is like, hey, let's just get the obvious ones out of the way. Like, we're not going to run naked through the street.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm never going to take a dare to go run naked through a sports game. Like, that's not how me and my family are going to show up. So, like, okay, duh, super obvious, right? But sometimes it's healthy and good just to get those out in the air and open, and then you can begin to close in that circle of like, here's what's going to be true about us and our family that I think can be helpful in piece of all of this. Yeah. And if you're single, then write those things down for yourself. Like, here are the things that I'm not going to do. And then when peer pressure comes or a group starts acting in that way, it's really easy because you've got a note page that says, I'm not going to act that way. And then you make a choice on how you want to interact.
Yeah. I think that same mentality that you were talking about earlier of, I think you said it was a conversation with David, Pastor David. Like, it is, myself, or we as a married couple are not going to show up like this, but it's also, comes from, we want to be this.
Yeah.
So that emphasis is on, we want to be followers of God.
Totally.
And then, I don't know what else comes under that, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah. But that's a beautiful part of a marriage and a family. And even if you're single, like, I shouldn't say even if you're single, the beautiful thing is that us as humans is that we can come up with those things and create our lives. So then a marriage is uniting 2 of those things and then building something new together to acknowledge, here's how we're going to show up as a family. And there's something really, really beautiful in that.
Yeah. Wow. That's really good. I'm excited to go home and sit down with Fox.
Fox, we're going to show up and we're not going to play video games.
Don't say that. He would cry.
So would I.
Oh, this is another good one. What is your favorite book or story in the Bible?
Oh,
why?
Okay.
I love that.
Okay, I've got a couple different. I feel like it's an ever-flowing thing. My favorite book is the Book of John. And there's like the classic Christian adage of like, if someone's not a Christian, just have them read through the Book of John and they'll be a Christian. And that's just highlighting how powerful the Book of John is, because the other Gospels are much more analytical in the way that they approach of presenting Jesus. Luke is literally like, hey, event by event, and like I talk to people about how this actually went down. Like, he's the historian. Mark and Matthew, they all have a message to their gospels, but they're much more event based, and they're just kind of highlighting and cherry picking like where events are placed. John has just a very clear message all the way through. He starts his off with a poem to say that Jesus has been around forever, like he is God. And then he goes on to just compare and contrast over and over again two different types of belief. Belief in what God does, or belief in who Jesus actually is. And to me, it's just so powerful. And my favorite verse in the Bible ever is John 15:9, where it says, Jesus says that as the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Remain in my love. And that just always feels like God pulling me into himself. So John's one of my favorite books. What I've learned in youth ministry is that I also really like Judges. There's so many just slam dunk stories that are so much fun and crazy. Like anytime a middle schooler goes like, the Bible's boring, I'm like, you haven't read Judges, have you? Let's do a Bible study in Judges. Let's double check with your parents, because they don't let you watch rated R movies, but they do let you read the Bible. So let's read Judges together, okay? So that's always fun. One of my favorite stories, I don't know, there's so many. Everything that I read or see, I play it like a movie in my head. Mm-hmm. So I see it play out, and the Bible like gives us what we need to know, not everything that we would like to. Mm-hmm. And that creates some funny scenes in my head. Mm-hmm. So one of those that I love is the story of Jesus feeding the 5,000 and then them following him after. And there's a bunch of different stories in the Old Testament that are really funny too, but this one is the one that comes to mind right now. So Jesus feeds 5,000, it says 5,000 men. So it's assumed that there's, between women and children, there's probably 11,000 people there, roughly. Mm-hmm. So Jesus feeds 11,000 people from this little kid's bag with, I forget how much it is, 3 loaves and 2 fishes or something like that, 2 fish. I don't know. He multiplies it. He feeds the whole crowd. And then he preaches the sermon, and he goes to leave. And the next day, a lot of these people are following him. Huge crowd. They're coming up and they're going, Jesus, you got to feed us again. And I think like most of the time we look at that and go like, oh man, like how annoying. Like how could those people just be coming after the food? But then I think of the wine that was given. That it said that he gave the wine, Jesus' first miracle. It says that usually in the Jewish tradition, you'd give the worst wine at the end because everyone's already drunk, so they're not going to remember how it tasted. But Jesus, the wine that he made, everyone was like, this is the best wine I've ever had. Why would you save this for the end? And so I have to believe that the fish and the bread that he made was the best food that these people had ever had. And we would travel to Italy just for some awesome pizza. So, of course, I would walk with the guy that just gave me the best food that I've ever had. So they're following him, and these people are like, okay, but I mean, you say you're God, but like God gave us manna from heaven. And so like, why wouldn't you give us food now? Like, it's totally manipulative. It's totally like just horrible, this crowd following Jesus. And Jesus turns to them, and it's just so gangster because he's like, yo, if you really want to follow me, you've got to eat my flesh and drink my blood. And they're like, what? Right? And so then these people just leave. And it's like this scene of like, okay. And again, it's John discerning like, what is belief? Is it belief that Jesus is going to physically feed you and like feed huge crowds of people? Or is it belief that he's actually the God that you were talking about in the Old Testament? So then Jesus turns around, and it's this scene of the disciples, and he goes, hey, they've all left. Are you going to leave too? And Peter has this moment that we're like, yeah. Like Peter, he's like the lowest of lows, the highest of highs. And Peter comes in and he's like, where else would we go? You have the words of life, man. And Jesus, you'd expect it to be like, Peter, my boy, you get it. Like you understand it. But the next thing that the Bible says that Jesus says is he goes, one amongst you is the devil. Let's be going. And it's like, dude, what was going on? Like this is a high five moment between Jesus and Peter, and Jesus has got like low blood sugar or something, and he just continues to move on in the story. So I don't know. Right now, that story pops in my head because I see it like a movie playing out. And I'm sure there was more words in between them, and we're just not given them. But the way it's laid out is funny to me.
I like that you called Jesus gangster because I have been saying for a long time that Jesus is swaggy.
Yeah.
And he totally is.
Yes.
He so is.
Yes.
He's so cool. And he always has the right things to say. My favorite lines is when he's I think he's on the donkey, actually. Like, so he's riding in on the donkey, and the disciples are like, they're like trying to move people out of the way or something, and or telling, I don't remember what it is, but Jesus is like, no, let them praise me, because if they don't, the rocks will.
Yeah.
And I like, it's my favorite line to think of, like, and I think of that every time that I'm outside and I'm like seeing the trees like blow around. I'm like, nature is praising God.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. But I just,
Yeah.
he's so swaggy.
Yeah, he is. And I mean, I think people underestimate this because we read over the Bible and we hear the boring sermons, or we hear the boring this or the boring that, and that there can be this narrative around the Bible that it's boring. And then when you really begin to like study and understand what is here, the life of Jesus is that like that gangster like energy.
Dude.
Of like I don't think we understand when Jesus walks into the Pharisees and he calls them a brood of vipers. Like how baller that is. Like every anarchist, every person that wants to buck against the government structure, like wouldn't dare. That is like walking into the highest power of the time and calling them snakes. Like that is awesome.
Or when he like first like announced when he was reading the prophecy to say like, I am the Messiah. This prophecy has been fulfilled in your presence. He goes into church. He like gets the opportunity to read scripture, which is like a big thing.
Yeah.
He walks up, he reads a paragraph, and he goes, yeah, I'm God. Goes and sits down. Just like sets everyone ablaze. And he's like, all right, let's just like sit back and watch. He's so cool.
Yes.
He's so cool.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay. I love that. Last one before we get into our rating. Ooh, this one's a good one. They've all been good. Who am I kidding? What's your favorite memory with God?
That's a really difficult one. The next one. I'm just kidding.
Not
That's
allowed.
like my easy cop out.
Screen goes black.
Yeah, at youth group, one of the Q&As over there, Eli asked, who's your favorite youth group kid? And I just said the next one. Like, that's my easy cop-out. That's from Tom Brady. Someone asked him what his favorite Super Bowl was, and he said the next one. I'm like, yep, I'm stealing that. Anyways, see, okay, that's hard because I think I have memories with God that are, like, grouped together. And then I have such, like this Sunday, right? Like that is such a cherished times with God and little touch points that I know that one on Sunday, I'm talking about it here, so maybe it sticks for a while, but I'm going to forget about that. So I guess what I'm trying to hold is I don't want to discredit touch points like that as being just as powerful and meaningful as some of the ones that I'm remembering forever. But there's been so I'll rephrase it.
Yeah.
There have been anchor points that God has given me that are seared into my mind, seared into my memory, that are just anchor points for him directing my life and that he cares about what I'm doing and where I'm going and what's going on with me. One of those is my call to ministry. Is that I was going to do occupational therapy. I'd grown up. If you don't know what that is, it's like physical therapy and social therapy for special needs students. So it's super all involved, and it's it's a profession that's kind of off to the side with the special needs community, but it's very highly trained, highly skilled people that walk with families and with kids that need someone to professionally walk with them. So I was really, really passionate and excited about this. Had grown up around special needs because of my brother, and so I was gearing up to do occupational therapy. I was looking for internships. I was a junior in high school, somewhere around there. And I went to Mission Placerville, and there was a sermon worship time. And I was just asking God. I was praying, and I was asking him, what do you want? What do you want me to do? And I felt like he wrote on the back of my eyelids, youth ministry, youth pastor, whatever. It was the sentiment that was there. And I took that as, oh, God just told me. He's called me into full-time ministry. This is all I'm going to do, all I want to do. And at that point, nothing else mattered. Like before that, all my jobs, like occupational therapy can be a well-paying job. Before that, I wanted to be a lawyer because I like to argue with people and talk, and they make lots of money. So I was very money motivated. And all that went out the window. And I was like, yeah, I'll never make good money. I'll always be struggling for money. But I know that this is what God wants me to do. So I look at that as an anchor point, that in the times that I'm like, man, I suck at ministry. Like I really screwed this up. That I just go back to that to go, no, I'm called to this. Like God wants me to do this. And it's changed over the years. Like I was so locked in to youth ministry because I know that I saw youth ministry, youth pastor written on my eyelids. And I was so locked into youth ministry. I'm going to be in youth ministry forever. I know it. I would dream about, like, I know at some point, like, I'll get too old where I won't really relate to the kids much anymore. Ashley tells me that I'm there now. I need to, like, step out. I'm just too old. And that I'll kind of graduate into helping out other youth pastors, being a pastor of youth pastors. But then I met someone who their call, they never had a moment like that. And that was like shocking to me. And they talked about how they just walked through doors that God opened. And that they knew that God was opening those doors, and they just walked through them. And I felt like God shifted that to go, let go of being so locked into youth ministry. Not like, hey, I'm moving you out of youth ministry, but just like a let go of being so locked into that and just walk through the doors in full-time ministry that I opened for you. So those are like, that's an anchor point that is still ongoing that I feel like is a moment that anchors me. Another one that I feel like is related to it, that for whatever reason, it just sticks out of my head. I had this long-term girlfriend before my wife, Hannah, that we had started dating in high school and we were dating after. And we were dating for like 2 years, and she was pushing me towards marriage. And it was like this, whoa, I was like 19, 18, 19, somewhere around there. And I was like, oh, man, okay, huh. It like never crossed my mind before. And so then it was like, oh, okay, this is a different level than what I thought it was. And I'd never talked to God about my relationship. Hugest mistake. Huge mistake. But in this moment that I feel pressure of like, is this what I want? Is this what I should do? I was at Fort Bible Camp at the eating area. I'll never forget it. But I was opening my Bible and I was reading, and I just had the prayer of like, God, what do you? That's interesting. Never thought about that. It was the same prayer as in here when I received my call to ministry. God, what do you want me to do? And it was so clear. Break up with her.
Wow.
And like 2 years, we were pretty melded together of like families. Her sister had a baby, and dad wasn't really in the picture at the time. And so there was just so much of like our families already melding together. Like marriage was almost the easier route. And I just felt God so clearly go, break up with her. And I don't know what happened. It's the same as my calling. It's like everything else faded away. And it was just, all that was left was obedience. And so this is so bad. This is so bad. But so that's at camp. And I'm like, okay, I have to break up with her. And then camp ends. and it's on her birthday.
Wow.
And she had dropped me off, so she'd come to pick me up.
Daniel.
And but actually, I'm like, I can't break up with her on her birthday. Like, I just can't. But I'm sitting in the car, and you know this. If you have a significant other, you know when something is off. Mm-hmm. You just do, especially something like that, right? Yeah. And so we're sitting in the car, and I'm at my dad's in Elk Grove. She's renting a little place in Elk Grove as well. So we have to go from Georgetown to Elk Grove. And we get to about Folsom. So it's about that. Georgetown to Elk Grove is like an hour and a half drive minimum. And we get about 45 minutes in. And she's like breaking down because she's like, something's wrong. You have to tell me. So she pulls off the highway, and I broke up with her on her birthday. Worst thing ever. I so did not want to. But it's just, yeah. So that was painful. But those two are connected to me, and it's interesting. I never thought of that it was the same exact prayer. But those two are connected to go like, hey, God has a plan for me as a call for me. There's been a call that has been placed on my life. There's an anointing, so to speak, that's there. And all of the big moments, he's got something to say. Mm. And so those have been anchor points for me. And then 8 months later, me and Hannah were still friends through all this. Mm-hmm. And funny, that girlfriend was jealous of Hannah, and didn't want me to be friends with her, even though me and Hannah weren't like crazy close. We were just at church together. Mm-hmm. And then me and Hannah reconnected 8 months after I had broken up with her and started dating and married and kids and all that. So,
wow.
Yeah, those are, I rephrase it to anchor points.
I like that.
But yeah.
Anchor points. I like that.
What have been anchor points for you as we wrap up?
My love, I think is it just has this like golden air to it, which is just so special in my heart. Like the color of light.
Yeah.
It's just so warm and so amazing. So that one is one. I know last time I was on the podcast, we talked about how God had given me this vision of holding my hands and dancing with me and spinning me around in a circle, which is, again, just like, it just feels like God is constantly trying to tell me. I wrote this down in my Bible one Sunday because I felt like God was talking to me. And he said, I wish I had it because the words are so special because it was from God. But it's something along the lines of, I'm never going to stop amazing her with how much I love her. And then just the word eternity, because I'm going to live for eternity. And so it's just like, I feel like every one of my moments that anchor points or like even the small, this little ones that sometimes get forgotten about are all just moments of God trying to amaze me with how much he loves me. I even think of the first time that Fox took me to a beach in Santa Cruz, like his family beach. We were standing on the water, and if you don't know me, I don't do well with water. I'm not a good swimmer. So I was dipping my feet in, and Fox was frolicking. I don't know. He was doing whatever. And I was just like standing there looking at the water, and this like overwhelming fear came over me. Not the earthly kind. Yeah. The kind where it was like, whoa. Like reverence. Like it was wild. It was so strong. And I couldn't like figure it out. And then a little while later, I remember looking back on it, and I was like, I wanted to know what the fear of the Lord was. And that was it. Yeah. And like, it wasn't scary, but it was like crazy. And all of it has been God just showing me how much he loves me and trying to, and succeeding at amazing me with how much he loves me.
That's cool.
Yeah. I like anchor points. I'm going to write that down. We're going to ask that in youth group. Cool. Well,
these
we
drinks. Okay, I've been thinking about this a lot. Listen, the filtered through volcanic rock is wild and imported from Iceland. I mean, they're doing a lot here to go. This is a premium product.
It's from a pristine glacial mountain.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff on drinks that I've just never read. I just kind of grab it. That this podcast forces me to find something funny here. So for me, this is sparkling water in general, no matter how bougie they think it is the definition of zero. Like it is, I am indifferent. And I'm going to grab it on a consistent basis because as we start getting, because I want to stay away from the negatives, things that I actively don't like, I'm not going to grab that, right? Mm-hmm. But then as we get into the positive, it feels like each point equals about 10 grams of sugar, right? Yeah. So like a 10, oh man, we're looking at like 100 grams of sugar, right? For it to be a 10 for me. So I'm going to grab a sparkling water because I want it zero. It's going to be zero sugar. It's going to be zero dislike, but it's also going to be kind of be zero. I actively like this.
All right. I mean, yeah. I think for me, I'm going to put it at like a 1. Yeah. Because regular, just like cold water is going to be 4, 5. Yeah. And this one is not bad.
Yeah.
This one's all right.
Yeah.
Also, you talked about you're not going to grab things that you actively don't like. And my absolute favorite thing is when him and Robbie are on the podcast together because that means I get to go find the most disgusting drink.
You're trying to find something that I would actively not like.
I'm thinking vinegar for the next one.
I would not drink straight vinegar. Apple cider vinegar, just a bottle in the middle.
Oh my gosh, it'd burn a hole in your stomach.
2 shot glasses. Just
so funny.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for joining us on the Pop Podcast. I hope that this was encouraging. I hope that it was refreshing. I know that God He's reaching people through this podcast, and you are one of those people. So if you got anything out of this, then comment that, tell us that, encourage somebody else with that, send it to somebody. We're so grateful and glad to have you here with us. And we'll see you next Wednesday on the Pop Podcast.
Booyah. Love you guys. See you later.
Bye.